how he was able to take his talent as a trumpet player, his talent as a vocalist, and connect live with so many audiences
Yeah.
is just mind-boggling to me.
Through the halls of memories, the strokes of history, capturing humanity. Stories left untold, whispers of the past, secrets they withhold. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, 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 oh. The condition report.
What was great about getting ready to talk to you was I got to listen to a lot of his music for the past couple
Mhm.
hours. It was
Mhm.
great. Is that what got you interested in being part of this organization? Is that what drove you there? Yeah.
So for me, I've been a part of art and education for many decades. I was trained as an actress at the Yale School of Drama, and before this, I worked for an education nonprofit. So in my stage of my career, I was looking for something that brought together art and education. I'd never worked in the museum field before, and as I was looking around, the Louis Armstrong House Museum came into view. And it seemed perfect for what I wanted to do, which is talk about art making, performance, talk about history, and to link that to education. And so I started to do what you did, which is
Yeah.
listen to Louis Armstrong music and read about the history and the context in which he was making that music and started to really dream about what this could be.
That's great. I do have a confession to make. On karaoke nights, I do sing What a Wonderful World.
Okay. All right. Do you get applause? Do you get applause?
No, never.
No.
No, it's bad. Yeah, I saw that you were a performer in the early
Yes.
2000s. What did you perform?
So I went to the Yale School of Drama. I did acting, and for me, I'm deeply interested in what it means to be a performer on a stage, live with an audience.
Yeah.
So for thinking about Louis Armstrong and who he was on that stage, and he traveled to 65 countries, so he was in front of many different types of audiences, different languages, different cultures, different politics, different everything. And he was able to connect with so many of them. And as a performer, I'm enamored with that skill. How he was able to take his talent as a trumpet player, his talent as a vocalist, and connect live with so many audiences
Yeah.
is just mind-boggling to me, just
Yeah.
based on my training and what I think about.
Yeah, it's amazing. So I have my notes here. So he was in the music world for over 50 years, average on 300 concerts a year, sold millions of records. Why do you think he was so successful?
Mm. Because he was good. He was good at that trumpet thing.
Yeah.
When musicians talk about his trumpet, musicians broadly, trumpet players particularly, they talk about time and light. They talk about how he was able to move around time, change time, that the music of the era was very much on beat that was being recorded, and how he was able to move around time,
Yeah.
and how that wasn't being done before, and how it set the stage for the jazz artists, but also the pop artists to come. He was good at what he did as a
Yeah.
trumpet, as a vocalist. I also think is he was one of the first to embrace recording. I mean,
Huh?
this is back in the 20s, 30s when recording mass production new. And
Yeah.
so he was a technophile and he liked new technology, and he was one of the first to embrace recording. So being good at what he did, being able to perform well, and embracing the technology that disseminated his music across the world, I think that's part of what led to him
Yeah.
being America's first Black music icon.
Where did the name Satchmo come from? I've heard that name. I have no idea how it started. What's the
Yes.
story
So
there?
he had many different nicknames.
Sure.
Satchmo, Dippermouth, Pops. The name Satchmo is short for satchel mouth. So a lot of his nicknames had to do with the size of his mouth and were somewhat derogatory. And
Oh,
so satchel mouth, the idea of a satchel, a bag that opens wide, that yawns wide. The idea was his mouth yawned wide like that. So dipper mouth, satchel mouth. But then I think he went across the seas and someone who wanted to called out his name and shortened it from Satchel to Satchmo, and it caught. It caught, and
yeah.
Louis Armstrong embraced that new nickname.
Yeah, shorter is better.
Mhm.
So the house that we're talking about here, how long did you live there?
So Louis Armstrong was born in New Orleans, but
Yeah.
he lived for 30 years on 107th Street in Corona, Queens. It's a
Wow.
national and a New York City historic landmark. And the reason why he moved there is because of his wife, Lucille. Lucille Armstrong was a Cotton Club dancer, an amazing artist in her own right, but she grew up around Corona, Queens. And when they got married, they were on the road. And Lucille said, I don't know about this road life. I think we need a house. And he said, we don't need a house. We're good. And she said, okay. And then she took her own money. She bought the house and said, the next time you come off the road, come here. This is where we live now. She's
Wow.
a bad mamma jamma, Miss Lucille Armstrong. And so that is the house that they lived in until they both passed. No one has lived there since they did. So all the furnishings, all the artwork, all the wallpaper, it's their own. So
Wow.
when people go through guided tours, and we've been doing guided tours since 2003, when they walk through the space, it's like the Armstrongs just stepped out for a moment and we get to
Yeah,
hang out until they come back. It's a
that's very
really
cool.
special place to be.
Yeah, that's amazing. So talking about the actual house, let me share my screen with you to help me understand something. I guess we'll share this and tell me what I'm looking at here. So are you seeing my screen?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so this is the house, right?
Yes, the red brick faced is the
Okay.
house.
And then across the street, what is this?
That is the new Louis Armstrong Center. It
Okay.
is fully open. We opened last July, and it's been decades in the making. So there was actually an article from Queens College, and it said across the street from the historic home, the Louis Armstrong Educational Foundation has helped the museum purchase a plot of land. And on that land will be built the new Armstrong Center. That was 1999.
Oh, wow.
It took decades
Ah,
for the money to be raised, the permits, the life that
yeah.
happens. But last year we opened, and it now has a 75-seat performance venue, the Armstrong Archives, the 60,000 piece archives, the largest of any jazz musician, and an amazing exhibition curated by Jason Moran, who's the Kennedy Center curator for jazz. And so it's exponentially expanded the type of programming we can do to have this type of space.
Yeah. And I saw that you have residents there. Is it like each year you have different performers?
Yes, Armstrong Now is where we take contemporary artists who apply for this opportunity, and they are then selected to do research in the archives and create new works. So last year we worked with Esperanza Spalding, Amir Leon, Antonio Brown, and this year we have a whole new slate of amazing artists, Emmanuel Wilkins, Lisa Latouche, that are going to spend time in the archives, sitting down with those pictures, with those manuscripts, with those audio files, and from that, they will create.
That's a great idea. So the performance center that's across the street, I'd imagine it's pretty loud, right? When they're playing music. Can you hear
Well,
it
I will
outside?
say our architects did an amazing job. This is Capel Jefferson Architects, and they were really thoughtful about how to we're in a neighborhood. We need to be
Yeah.
respectful.
Yeah.
So how to encapsulate the sound in our space so you don't hear it outside,
Oh,
but you don't even hear it when you're inside if you're not in the room. It's
wow.
very encapsulated, but it's gorgeous. We had a performance, and there was someone from the community who came in, and she said, After listening to the performance, it felt like being inside of a cello.
Your museum website says it's inclusive. But what happens if a guest doesn't speak English? The 42 Kites premium devices translates your exhibit text into over 100 different languages, even Zulu. Only at 42kites.com.
That's
Wow.
what they built. That's what they built. And it's gorgeous.
I'd imagine the people that live next door are like, I thought I was going to get some free music out of this.
Yeah.
No, they
Well, we
don't.
do have another space where we do music, and that's where we've been doing music for decades. That's the garden. So
Okay.
next door
Is
to
that where the listening party is?
no, the listening party is actually indoors. That's
Okay.
indoors. And
Okay.
but there's a garden next door to the historic house has 200 people can fit in that space. And so
Wow.
that's where we've held concerts for years. It's outdoors, and we can only then do things when the weather is good in the summertime.
Yeah.
Now we can do things year round. And so the listening party is one of those things that we do indoors, and it's where we spin 78s and people just sit and listen. It's where I heard my new favorite Louis Armstrong song, which is St. James Infirmary.
Oh,
And listening to the 78 of that is a different experience than listening to a CD, to MP3. The pops, the laughter, it just comes through in a different way.
wow. That's great. I can tell you're passionate about the music.
It's fun.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really fun. And the team of people who work at the museum are deeply invested in
Yeah.
this legacy. And they passed that on to me. Many of them were there before I got there, and they passed, they did the work of the museum. They passed on passion to new audiences, me being one of them. But that's our goal, is to pass on this passion to new audiences.
I saw on your Facebook page that you found, I'm assuming, a new recording of Lewis in London from 1968. Is that
So
accurate?
there is, so our archives have tons of recordings, but the one that you're talking about was actually from the BBC. So Lewis flew to London on the heels of Wonderful Wonderful World being recorded and being received so well, particularly in London. It wasn't received as well in the United States at the time, but in London, huge hit.
Yeah.
And so Louis Armstrong flew to London and did is considered his last major concert, recorded by the BBC, but it was never shared outside of that moment. And so Lewis in London is the newest record from Verve that's now out that is of that live recording. Louis Armstrong passed in 1971.
Yeah.
So this is one of his last uh, large performances.
Was there recordings left in the house when he
Oh,
passed?
oh, tons. So Louis Armstrong was his own archivist. He
Okay.
kept the photos, he kept the letters, he kept the recordings that he made of himself. So he had reel-to-reel tapes. And thinking about him being a technophile, he was an early adopter of this cutting edge technology of reel to reels at the
Yeah.
time. And he had a reel to reel in his home on 107th Street, and he had a portable reel to reel. So he would take it on the road with him and record himself rehearsing, record conversations, record parties, record himself listening to Martin Luther King's funeral,
Yeah.
to so many things. And then he would write down everything that he recorded. He would
Wow.
list it and archive it. We have all of those. We have 700 tapes of audio recordings,
Wow.
many of them in gorgeously decorated tape boxes that he decorated himself with collage art.
Oh, wow.
Tons and tons and tons of recordings.
And so how much of that has been released to the public? About.
So it's all available online because all of our archives are digitized. Anyone right now, can go to lewisarmstronghouse.org and look up collections, the digital collections. And there you will find the digitized archives. And there's a search bar. And whatever is of your interest, you can put in that to the search bar. So one time I put in Ella Fitzgerald.
Hmm.
Tons came up related to Ella. One time I put in Ghana because I wanted to know about Louis Armstrong's travel to Ghana. 400 hits on Louis Armstrong in Ghana. So anyone right now can go there and check it out.
I think we should try that.
Let's do it. You want to do it?
Oh yes, let me share my screen with you. Okay, are you here?
Yes.
Okay, so am I in the right place on the
Yes. You're going to
collection?
go to the menu bar and hit Museum Collections.
All right, hold on. Museum collections.
And of those, and stay on the
Oh,
on
gotcha. Yeah, yeah. Okay.
choices. And of those choices, you're going to go to digital collections.
Digital collections. Okay. Okay. All right. And I see what you're talking about. The search catalog in the top right.
Yes.
Okay.
So what's the term that you want to search for?
Oh,
A person,
my
place.
my favorite song, Autumn in New York.
Check it out.
All
Type
right.
in out of New
Let's see
York.
what happens here. There we go. Let's see. Hit enter.
Mm-hmm. 21
Okay. Reel
results.
to reel tape. So this is what you were saying, the reel to reel that he would have with him.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to listen to all this now, but so would we hear him talking about the song or
You would
what do we
hear
have?
the reel
The
and
reel.
whatever he put on that reel.
Wow.
And
There's a lot.
so there's a lot there. And in order to really listen, you might need to sign up, meaning give
Okay.
your
Sure.
email and do all of those
Yeah.
things. But you can click through and see what's there and
Yeah.
then listen to your heart's content.
Yeah. That's great. And I see on the left, looks like we can narrow our search down a bit.
Mhm.
Groupings, keywords, creators, transcript.
Mhm.
That's great. So was that system in place before you joined this organization?
Yes. So we received a grant from the Fund 2 Foundation, I believe in 2016, to make this happen. And it was a huge help to us during the pandemic
Oh
because
yeah.
when we closed, and we're a house museum, we're an intimate space, we needed to close. When we closed, the the digital archives were our form of storytelling. And there's an amazing Washington Post article about how we utilized those digital archives and did um, um, virtual exhibits based on them all during the pandemic.
Uh,
So we've had it for a little bit, and we're definitely taking advantage of how to get the archives out of the library style space and into people's hands.
that seems like a great way to do it. So one of the notes I have here, and I don't quite understand why. Why was he under surveillance by the FBI in the late 50s?
Hmm. I love that you found that. And he was.
I dig deep.
You dig deep. I
Yeah,
see it.
yeah.
I feel it.
Okay.
So Louis Armstrong was a black man in America, and he was experiencing what Black people were experiencing, which was extreme segregation and terror. And
Yeah.
so, but he was a performer and he lived his life. He was perceived by so many in the United States as this amazing, gorgeous, positive figure.
Yeah.
But there was something that happened, and that is the Little Rock Nine. It's when nine students in Little Rock, Arkansas, were attempting to enroll in high school, following the Supreme Court saying separate is not equal. And so when these nine Black students went to try and enroll, they were met with an angry mob. And those pictures then went all over the United States, all over the world. And there was a young journalist who went to Louis Armstrong's room after a performance because people could just go hang out with Armstrong. He was open like that. And this young journalist, I believe his name is Lubenow, he asked Louis Armstrong what he thought about what was happening in Arkansas. And Louis Armstrong went off. He said Eisenhower was a coward. He said the governor, he had strong words for the governor. And that then became big news. And especially because of who Louis Armstrong was in the world.
Yeah.
As a result of those comments, he started to be blackballed. There were performances that he was supposed to engage in that were canceled. And it was actually some of his allies around him that said, if you don't have Louis Armstrong on, I will not go on. Some of
Oh,
the other white singers made those comments and helped Louis Armstrong to get over that. But in the
yeah.
midst of that, the FBI started to say, we need to have our eyes on Louis Armstrong. We're not sure about his views. He travels the world. We need to create a file for him. And so that's what happened. So we did, as a museum, we solicited his FBI records through the public records. So we now have them on exhibit
Oh,
in
wow.
our museum.
That's crazy.
Mhm.
Well, I know that we're short on time here, but what's next for the House Museum and the Performing Center? What do you have planned?
Yes. So we now have an events calendar.
Oh,
So folks can check that out. And when they go to the visit tab on the website, everyone can come and visit for a tour of the historic house to check out the exhibit, but now events. Performances, archival tours, listening sessions, and definitely events for the young folks. We
yeah.
teach trumpet
Oh,
to community members.
wow.
And so those education programs are a huge part of what we do, having K through 12 students come to us, go into those classrooms. And we want to continue to build out all of our education programs, but definitely the trumpet learning program. And then we have a couple of special projects. One we just got a grant for is called the Corona Collection, and it's going to be a series of oral histories. There are some famous photographs of Louis Armstrong on the steps of his house with some kids, and they're he has the trumpet, they're playing the trumpet. Those kids, their names are the Johnson brothers, and they are with us. And we want to interview them and interview other kids of Corona who were alive when the Armstrongs were alive and have a story to tell
Yeah,
about their interaction with both Louis and Lucille Armstrong. So
yeah.
that's a special oral history project that we're about to engage on that I'm very, very excited about. And then Louis Armstrong in Ghana. I talked about putting Ghana into the search bar, and
Yeah.
that's because we're going to go to Ghana. The 2026 is the 70th anniversary of Louis's travels there when Ghana was becoming an independent nation
Yeah.
of British colonial rule. And so we're going to go there and follow in their footsteps. And we're excited to see what we find and who we can partner with.
Wow. That sounds awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I know you have to go. I can tell your knowledge and your passion for what you do, and it's nice to see.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that.
Mm.
I think museums are important.
Yeah.
History is important and it tells us who we are. And so I'm glad to be a part of that.